Hello everybody, I am Fuzzyface. Welcome back to another edition of this Motorsport Manager career. We're back today with round 8, the German Grand Prix, as we head to Munich. It's been a little while since I've actually played this game. I think it's been over a week. If you've been keeping up with this series, you will know I took about a week's break. There's been 2 videos up before these ones, or before this one. That is because I'd recorded those 2. I had a bit of problems with the recorded video for the South African Grand Prix. I couldn't actually get it working. It was corrupted. There was no way I could go back and rerun the race again. So we just had to skip over that episode. And whilst I was trying to fix that video, I actually fell ill as well. So I had to take a little bit of a break. But we're back now. There's been 2 videos on. We're back today. I'm back today with this video. Anyway, hopefully we're going to be back on track now. We might be pushing out some videos twice a day to try and catch up a little bit. Meanwhile, try to play the new F1 2018 game in between as well. But anyway, we'll get straight back into this video, try and get back into it. We're doing pretty well again at the moment this season. Esteban Ocon's in 5th, Lando Norris is in 6th, 62 points and 55 points respectively. We're 4th place overall in the Constructors, not too bad. We are currently 44 points off the Red Bull team, who are leading. Mercedes, they're starting to come back a little bit strong. Ferrari with Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc in that car as well. They're always going to be a threat there in 3rd place. And Porsche, their first season in Formula 1, or back in Formula 1, they were an entry in the 60s as well. But with Max and Sebastian Vettel in that car, they always do have the potential if they bring a big upgrade. Their car isn't the best at the moment. Porsche, their first entry, they've got their own engine in there. It's going to be a while before they start pushing towards the top of the grid with a car that's more than capable. They do have the best driver lineup at the moment with Max and Sebastian, but Sebastian has been a little bit off form this season. He finds himself all the way down here in 11th place behind the McLaren of Valtteri Bottas. Last year's drivers' champion Sebastian Vettel only scoring 22 points this season. But anyway, let's jump in. We've got some sponsors due here in slot 2, which is pretty much the main sponsor on the side of the car. So let's see who we've got here. We've got Mercedes, which is a little bit ironic since we've chose to dump the Mercedes engine at the start of this season. So we're not going to consider that one at all. 15 million over 100 races. That's not really a sponsorship deal. We've got Martini jumping back on the bandwagon now since we were champions last season and doing well this season. They sort of dumped us after the first season. Obviously, we weren't doing well enough at that point. 10 million over 21 races. This one looks like the best offer. Meanwhile, we've got Team Penske. Indycar sponsorship, obviously 2.5 million over 40 races. This is the only sort of viable one here. 10 million over 21 races. We're going to have Martini back on the side of the car. We're not going to go back for the Martini livery, though. I love the blue, yellow and white livery. Going to go a little bit more simpler next season, so hopefully we get the livery showing up in the actual race. Meanwhile, we have also got a vote for rolling starts. I don't want this to happen, so we're just going to use one of our votes. We're going to vote against it, and it looks like it's going to get voted down anyway. So just get this over and done with quickly. Totally voted down there, and we've only got Red Bull and another team there voting for it. So rolling start rejected, thankfully. Meanwhile, we've got an engine building. Going to take 20 days. It's going to be done after Munich. And the engine that we're building here, I think it's just one that's risky with sort of dump development for this season. We're going all in for next season. Meanwhile, our car is nearly the best car on the grid. It's 3rd overall, but we're really close to the Ferrari and the Mercedes. Obviously, I think I've got last year. Did I switch out last year's engine, or the engine that we're putting in next year? Yes, I've managed to switch it back out. But if we put this engine in the car, I think we went over this maybe in the last video, we are pretty much there. 3rd back, being 3rd best overall. Once we put this engine in the car next year, we're going to have a really strong package next year. It looks like we could have one of the best cars on the grid. This Honda partnership starting to take shape. Hopefully we can keep up in the off-season as well, should I say. Meanwhile, we've got a simulator building, handling development building as well. So yeah, 8 days. We'll just skip ahead until the beginning of the Grand Prix weekend. Meanwhile, we've got some Formula 2 results to go over. Alexander Rossi in the Andretti Autosport car wins the Munich Grand Prix in Formula 2. Kevin Magnussen in the BMW car. Don't pay attention to the logos, it's one of the things I couldn't change. But Kevin Magnussen in the BMW is starting to get back up there, and Nick De Vries as well in the Volvo Polestar team. He gets up there into 3rd place. Meanwhile, Dan Ticktum, who is in the Toro Rosso, was 4th. Makina, I can't remember who he's with because he's not one of the drivers I placed in the car. He's with the Infinity Dams. That should have been Felix Rosenquist in that seat. But Infinity Dams wanting to run with Makino in that seat, and then we've got Fittipaldi. Which Fittipaldi is that? Because there's two Fittipaldis. I don't know which way around they are. There's Enzo and Pietro there. I'm guessing Pietro finished 6th there. And we've got Sergei Seti-Camera doing pretty well in the Carlin. Robert Kubica in the other Infinity Dams is there as well. And then we've got Nobuhiro Matsushita in the second car. And Carlin doing pretty well this season, picking up points here and there, considering their car is one of the worst rated overall in this series, considering we've got quite a few big teams here. But Nick De Vries is still winning the Formula 2 Championship at the moment. Then we've got Pietro Fittipaldi and Dan Tixman in the Toro Rossos in 2nd and 3rd. Pietro looks to be the only one that can challenge Nick De Vries for the title. Brendan Hartley not doing too badly in the Jaguar F1 racing team. Meanwhile, Toro Rosso only 8 points ahead of the Volvo Polestar team. Now it looks like it's going to become between those two teams at the end of the season for the one that gets the chance to move up to Formula 1. Toro Rosso hopefully are going to go for a return. Volvo looking to make that step up. Volvo, who are, I can't remember whose engines they are running this season, but from next season, storyline wise, they will be using their own engines. I would think maybe possibly another year I've got it set up for. They're possibly going to go for another year. I think, I can't even remember, I'd have to go over my notes and I don't actually have them on me at the moment. But anyway, BMW actually struggling here. They do have the best car, they do have the best driver lineup with Kevin Magnussen, but for some reason they're really struggling this season. 61 points, tied with the Infinity Dams team, the offshoot of the main Renault team, and then Andretti a little bit further behind. It looks like Russian time might be making the drop to GP3. Meanwhile, the Munich Grand Prix is just 3 days away now. Both guys, I think, are totally happy with the car as it stands at the moment. If we just jump in here, and we'll go with Alliance here, 14th or above for that 100,000. Neither here nor there. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon's only content with the car, so I'm guessing just because we've been upgrading the parts in the garage, we've been working on the performance of quite a few parts. I'm guessing it's just sort of gone out of whack a little bit here. Meanwhile, we do have these ones, but we can't introduce these new brakes until we actually get to... when's the next upgrade race that we can go for? That will be Milan. So there's a couple more races until we can get those brakes in the car, so we can't mess around with those at the moment, but we could possibly swap them over. No, they're pretty equal, aren't they? But no, that would make him delighted. Well, here it says he's delighted 12, so I'm guessing that was just... no, he's delighted there now. So what was the change? Nothing. But anyway, can't do anything about that, so we're going to jump over practice as usual, and we'll be back in a second to see if we're quick enough in qualifying to go for the top 10. Hopefully these upgraded performance parts are going to start taking effect now. We're going to have a pretty decent qualifying for once. We've been pretty below par in qualifying recently, but anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute and we'll be straight back for qualifying. We're on the first run in qualifying now. Norris is on his first lap. Ocon does alright with his temperatures as well, so hopefully we're going to be pretty quick here. Practice, we didn't really get any knowledge on any of the dry tyres. It rained pretty much for the whole of practice. It said it was going to be full on sunny. Didn't turn out that way. It was rainy for pretty much the entire practice. So at least the AI, none of the AI cars as well have got any knowledge on the dry tyres. Whereas Norris sets the quickest second sector here, and Norris looking like he is going pretty quick. Is he going to beat Danny Rick to pole position here, who's currently quickest in the Ferrari? Someone's going quicker than him though in the second sector, and it is Esteban Ocon. Although Hamilton has put in a searing first sector here. Is Hamilton slower in the second? Norris is currently third, just off the Ferrari and the Red Bull of Ricciardo and Alonso respectively. Ocon goes quickest here. So these upgrades that we finally put in the car looking like they're paying dividends here, although Hamilton goes quickest. But look at that, the top five split by under 0.2 of a second here. So we've got some time to pick up here, although George Russell sets a quickest second sector here. Is Russell going to park this McLaren on pole? The Mercedes junior driver goes 6th overall, loses out in that final sector, but a pretty good qualifying there from him. Whereas Joseph Newgarden has managed to get that Haas, that Cosworth-powered Haas, above the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel here. Not the Ferrari, the Porsche of Sebastian Vettel. So, yeah, things looking quite interesting here as we'll be heading into our second qualifying lap in just a second. And we'll get back and see if we can get Ocon a little bit quicker and try and see him on pole for our first pole position this season. Time to see if we can bag pole Ocon's done a better job this time with his temperatures as well, so he looks like he could be picking up some time. Meanwhile, Hamilton hasn't even started his lap yet. He's the last car on track. Meanwhile, we've got Ocon. I think that is the Ferrari maybe of Daniel Ricciardo in front of him, as Leclerc's already done his first sector. So hopefully we're going to pick up time. Hopefully this Ferrari and Danny Rick isn't going to slow us up too much. And Norris, meanwhile, is slower in the first sector, but Ocon is picking up time here. Although Danny Rick is the quickest over the first sector here, beating out Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. And we're right there battling with Daniel Ricciardo on track. We managed to overtake Daniel Ricciardo, who set the quickest second sector, but somehow we've managed to get past him. So that isn't Daniel Ricciardo, is it? No, yeah, it is Leclerc. Leclerc has gone third at the moment. So where can Ocon get here? Ricciardo and Ocon are going to come across the line pretty much at the same time. Who is quickest? Ocon is third at the moment. Where is Hamilton going to be? Hamilton isn't as quick as he was on his last lap here. Hamilton finishes third, so Ocon fourth, Norris 7th. That's not too bad considering how some of our qualifying laps have gone this season. But anyway, we'll jump straight over this and we'll be back in a second and we'll go over the full grid. So here we go with the grid for the 2021 German Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo parks at Prancing Horse. On pole position, first place, Nico Hülkenberg at his home Grand Prix in the Mercedes. Second, beating out his teammate Lewis Hamilton in qualifying for one of the first times this season. Lewis Hamilton there in third in the silver Aero. Esteban Ocon puts our Williams Honda on the second row of the grid. One of our best qualifying performances this season. Esteban Ocon there in fourth. Charles Leclerc, who's suffering from a dodgy neck at the moment, gets the Ferrari up into fifth place. The Aston Martin Red Bull racing car of Fernando Alonso 6th. This wasn't a good track for Red Bull last season. Pascal Wehrlein last season finished 13th. Daniel Ricciardo finished 14th. Both those guys in the Red Bull. Not a good race last season for the Red Bulls. Lando Norris is 7th in our second Williams. George Russell, an impressive performance in that McLaren F1 car. 8th place for him. Carlos Sainz in the second Red Bull. 9th. Max Verstappen in the Porsche. 10th. Pierre Gasly 11th. Joseph Newgarden in the Haas 12th. Sebastian Vettel once again way outside here in that second Porsche. It looks like they're pushing all the upgraded parts into Max Verstappen. As we see, he's 7/10ths down on pole position. There's not much of a gap though, is there? All these teams pretty close at the moment. Then we've got Pascal Wehrlein in the blue and yellow Renault Sport F1 team. 14th place for him. Valtteri Bottas 15th in the McLaren. Alex Lynn in the Sauber 16th. Stoffel Van Dorn in the ART 17th. The Sauber of Giovinazzi 18th. Sergio Perez in that second ART car 19th. And Roman Grosjean in the Cosworth powered Haas car bringing up the rear 20th place. This should be a one-stop race if we can look after these tyres. It's going to be pretty touch and go to get to that point to do, and Ocon is slow off the line here. Norris, meanwhile, has had a good start. He's going to get the jump on his teammate. Norris moves up into 5th place. He's right behind Charles Leclerc. Esteban Ocon biting back, though, gets the inside line. Looks like Ocon might have the run here. And who is that there? That is Fernando Alonso, who was pretty slow off the line as well. He's battling away with our two cars. We've got a Renault all the way up here as well. That is Pierre Gasly. Off to a brilliant start as well. Meanwhile, Nico Hülkenberg has got himself out front in the Mercedes and has got himself clear of Daniel Ricciardo here, who's coming under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. As we hit those first couple of corners, we're about over half a lap through this race, and Charles Leclerc hanging on to 4th here with his dodgy neck. Meanwhile, Norris has managed to stay ahead of Esteban Ocon and managed to get Charles Leclerc. Can Ocon get past Charles Leclerc here as we head around this hairpin corner, which takes us down another right-hander down the pit straight? Looks like Ocon's got a good exit there. Can he get to close to Norris? He cannot get on the back of him here, whereas Charles Leclerc gets a good entry into that corner but doesn't get the exit as Ocon comes away pretty well here. And it looks like we're pretty here, so we're going to have to switch back to neutral if we want to make a one-stop work with these cars. We're just going to have to hang on to the tyres here. I'm thinking the AI is not going to be able to do it, but Ocon has the run on his teammate. Lando Norris will get the inside. No, that is on the left-hander on the chicane there as we hit one of the hairpin corners, and Norris gets that back. We don't really want our drivers fighting like this over the first part of this race. We don't want them colliding with each other. I've had that happen in the past, although I haven't had it happen in this game or this save file to date. Meanwhile, Norris drops behind Ocon a little bit there, and he's got Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc behind him, but R2 Williams still fighting away here. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton has managed to get past Daniel Ricciardo, and his teammate Nico Hülkenberg is shooting away in the lead here, going through these tyres pretty rapidly, I would feel. Maybe he's pushing them too much. Meanwhile, Ocon is starting to get away from his teammate a little bit now as we get blocked out by the forest there. But Ocon 4th now. Norris coming under a little bit of a pressure from Fernando Alonso as we hit that chicane. We go around this hairpin corner, which signals the start of the last part of the lap. Meanwhile, Lewis, is he under pressure? No, it looked like he was under pressure there from Daniel Ricciardo as we've got the Ferrari Red Bull changing places behind. Russell hanging on the medium tyre to the back of this little pack at the moment. Meanwhile, Norris needs to start going a little bit quicker, but I don't really want to push the tyres as it is. I do want to be more comfortable enough to go into the conserve mode, because I do need these to stretch out to maybe about lap 12, 13 if I'm really pushing it. It does say that these tyres can go 11 laps. 11 laps is not quite cutting it. That would see us through maybe 31 laps on the lower end of this tyre, which obviously we're really pushing it to get through to the end of the race. So this does need to do 12 laps. Meanwhile, we can do that in conserve mode. Meanwhile, it might mean we need to switch things up a bit with Lando Norris to maybe keep him clear a little bit. We'll see. 72%. What is everyone else doing with their tyres? And we see Ferrari must be going for a one stop. I don't think they will go for a medium or a soft tyre for their second stint. If we look at Danny Rick, what are his tyres? 69%. So everyone looking like they're capable of doing the one stop here. Meanwhile, we just held Ocon back a little bit. We might as well go medium and medium. What is everyone else doing with their fuel at the moment? We might as well copy that. Although, is Charles quicker in that Ferrari if we run the same race strategy? Although we say that, and Norris picks up quite a good exit off that corner and gets away from Charles Leclerc there in that Ferrari, as we're currently running 4th and 5th, although we've got no chance. Our pace is pretty poor compared to the 3 front runners here. We've got the pace on the second Ferrari, although Charles Leclerc, we see there, starts to push a little bit, so we're going to switch back to high mode with Norris just to try and cover that off, although Charles is just, seems like he's pushing down the straights a little bit. Meanwhile, as we were saying, we're 4 seconds behind pretty much Daniel Ricciardo now. We've got no real chance of catching the 2 Mercedes, who are out in front here and looking pretty comfortable, but they're going through their tyre pretty quickly, and looks like they're going to try and go for a 2-stop strategy here, which could open this race up for Charles, not Charles Leclerc, his teammate Daniel Ricciardo in the Ferrari. Could open the race up for him. Meanwhile, Norris once again down the straight, and looks like our Williams, Honda-powered Williams, is getting away from the Ferrari a little bit down the straight, which is a little bit unusual. Maybe there's some reliability issues with the engine Leclerc has got. Maybe they've brought an upgrade that isn't quite reliable enough. Maybe they're hanging on to it. Who knows? But down the straights we're seeming to pull away, whereas Norris is starting to catch up here with Ocon a little bit, and that's possibly just because of what we've been doing with the fuel at the moment. So Norris, we're going to switch him down now. It's Ocon's turn to push, although we need to keep Norris in this high mode just to keep him out of range of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc tries to dive down the inside, but I don't really want to leave our little battle here, because look at the front here. We've got 3 cars sort of going away by themselves, and Danny Rick is putting Lewis Hamilton under some pressure here. He's doing a good job at holding off Daniel Ricciardo from his teammate here. Looks like Hülkenberg could be on for a win in his home Grand Prix. Hopefully he'll be able to do that, because he's been pretty off form this season. The second Mercedes driver historically in this game usually has a little bit of a problem. Valtteri, then we had Kevin Magnussen in there as well. This season, Nico Hülkenberg. No, what did we have? We have Valtteri, then Kevin Magnussen for 2 seasons, and then Nico Hülkenberg. And the second driver's always struggled a little bit behind Lewis Hamilton, and it's happening again with Nico Hülkenberg a little bit as well. So hopefully, and Norris, it looks like he's coming under pressure, so we're going to get pushing here. We want to try and get this back down the straight, as we were talking, too busy talking about what's been happening at Mercedes. We let Leclerc through, but we can't really sort of hang on to that. We're going to hang on a little bit here. Can we get him back past pretty quickly? Should we try switch up to a 2-stop here? As we see Leclerc's going through this tyre. No, he's not going through it as quick as we are. We want to try and get this pass back done here on Charles Leclerc. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it, although I say that usually when we do get back past, we get and the exit is not good off that hairpin. Norris dropping back, although can he go around the outside? Can't manage it, gets onto the inside here. Although he's behind, it looks like he's opened himself up. Fernando Alonso getting back past here, so we're going to have to switch back down now. Pretty futile trying to get past Charles Leclerc. Maybe we should have just held that. We're around about lap 9. These tyres are going to go. No, we're going to switch up totally here with Lando Norris. We're going to switch him up maybe for a 2-stop. It's going to be risky. It's going to be a little bit hard to try and get him through for the 1-stop now. So if we just switch him up a little bit. Meanwhile, we're getting Ocon through. At least we'll know for next year what the best strategy will be. But Norris currently 7th place. If we want him to move him higher, We've got a little bit of a gap to George Russell. If it's maybe it's not enough gap to do what we need to do, but Norris is going to be in the pits for this lap. 15, that was CS3 26 laps, so we're going to go medium and then hopefully back onto a soft tyre to finish the race. So Norris is going to dive into the pits this time around. Hopefully everything is nice and easy there. He's going to come back out into 20th place, so he's going to have some nice clear air to run in here, so we can do the first lap on attack mode, then maybe go into push mode for a little bit. Meanwhile, Ocon is going to do another lap after this one. It looks like he's going to be able to just about make it round another lap in conserve mode here, so the 2-stop is definitely on for him. Meanwhile, Norris, he is going for a 2-stop race, so we're just trying to catch him back up and see if we can get him back into that 7th place at least. Whereas Norris, these tyres are starting to get a little bit overheated now, so we're just going to switch down, go for this second section like this, and we get out in front of the Red Bull of Fernando Alonso, who's on the medium tyre as well. So it looks like everyone else around about here is going for a 2-stop, because there's no way that medium can get to the end of the race. So Norris is not going to be as bad off as I thought he would here. Meanwhile, this hard tyre is going to be a stretch. 21 laps remaining, but I think we can do it with the hard tyre if we look after it. If we look after this hard tyre with Ocon, he can 1-stop this race. He's currently running in 2nd. Daniel Ricciardo has pitted. He is 10th place as he makes a pass on Joseph Newgarden. Meanwhile, who else was there? Hulkenberg. Where is Hulkenberg? He's behind Daniel Ricciardo, so there's something happening in the pits there. Hulkenberg stuck in traffic at the moment. He's right behind Joseph Newgarden in that gold and black Haas car. Meanwhile, we're just hanging on with Lando Norris for a little bit on this medium tyre. Obviously, we can push him and then go for another medium tyre, but I would like him to go back to another, and that is Lando Norris right on the back of him here. Ocon is going to go back into neutral here. Norris is actually on the quicker tyre at the moment, running a different strategy. So should we let... We're going to have to do this because Norris should be running quicker on this tyre at the moment. So if he can get close enough... We do want Ocon to go past, but as it is at the moment... Don't want to slow Ocon down because Norris isn't really getting close to him either. So even on that hard tyre, it looks like that hard tyre's holding up pretty well here. And we can't keep this going too long. But if Norris can make this pass, is he actually quicker now? He's caught back up, so we do sort of want Norris to go through because he's on a different strategy altogether. So there goes Norris, or does he? Ocon tried to move over to let him through, but it's becoming a bit of a struggle to get through here. So Norris is now through, so we'll go to race. Ocon drops down behind. Ocon under pressure, meanwhile, from Charles Leclerc, although we're not really racing. We just want to stay within about 20 seconds of these cars in front. If we can do that, then Ocon is in for a good finish. Meanwhile, Norris is running a different strategy, which is the reason why we let him through. Meanwhile, we need to clear this Sauber of Antonio Giovinazzi because Charles Leclerc is right on our tail. The Ferrari-powered Sauber. It looks like they're holding us up here for the Ferrari. If we can get the bounce on them around that hairpin, we've got a better exit here than Antonio Giovinazzi. We managed to get past it. Can we hold it? No, we can't. Yes, we can, but Leclerc gets through pretty easily as well, and our tyres now overheated. We're just going to have to hold off a little bit here as Leclerc comes under pressure there from Antonio Giovinazzi. We just need to cool down a little bit. We've got Pascal Wehrlein in the pits in the Renault. We move back up into 10th place, try to cool these tyres down a little bit. Esteban Ocon, his tyres are going to run cold at some point during this Grand Prix, but that's just the... we're going to have to go through that pain just to try and get him through to the end of the Grand Prix on these hard tyres if we want to make him go for that 1-stop strategy. Looks like all the AI is going 2 stops here, whereas Norris is coming under pressure from Charles Leclerc here. We've got these tyres cooled down a little bit. We'll switch back to conserve now. Hopefully Leclerc, what's Leclerc doing? He's going to push now all out on this fuel, so we'll go back into high mode, try and respond a little bit to that. Obviously I don't want to push the fuel too much, although we do want to try and get past Roman Grosjean here. Let's try and get him on the straight. If we go all out, can we get Roman Grosjean here? Obviously we can pit. The pit window is open anytime from around the next 2 laps to get onto a medium. Although we do want to stretch out another 6 or so laps to get back onto a soft tyre. But it doesn't look like the soft tyre is going to be viable for this race. So we might as well just push to try and clear Roman Grosjean here in this Cosworth-powered Haas car. If we can get under him on this hairpin. No, it doesn't make it. And there we get the pass done. So let's just cool these down ever so slightly. Now we've got the run on the Haas car. And we'll switch back to medium here. Ocon, meanwhile, he's still... We haven't actually passed the Sauber, although the Sauber dives into the pits there, Giovinazzi. So Ocon currently in a good place here. Looks like Vettel could be going for a one-stop as well in the Porsche. He looks like he could be in a good position here to finish this race as well. Will be coming out of the pits around about here. But it's just how much, and Ocon, who's that in front of him? That's Leclerc. Just managed to get past Grosjean. Grosjean will be into the pits on this lap. And Lando Norris, who is doing a two-stop. The pit window is open. So if we get him pushing now, if we can do a couple of quick laps on our way into the pits. Alex Lynn is about to come into the pits on this Sauber. He's doing a one-stop as well. So we sort of need to clear these cars, these other cars that are doing a one-stop at the moment as well. We've sort of caught them back up. They're going to be into the pits. And yeah, so we should just be about in front of those, shouldn't we? As we're behind a car, Joseph Newgarden, who hasn't actually been into the pits yet on that hard tyre. Vettel stretching his tyre out a long way as well, whereas Ricciardo is currently leading this race over Lewis Hamilton and Nico Hulkenberg. Valtteri Bottas hasn't pitted yet. He's in the McLaren. So he's in a position where he might not be too in a good position for the end of the race. Sebastian Vettel finally pits. Lando Norris is doing one more lap on this medium time. Maybe we can get 2 out of it, but it's really overheated at the moment. 14 laps remaining. So we're going to get in and switch in for this second pit stop. So Norris is going to be coming back out. It looks like Ocon's in a really good position here to do some damage and sort of put his name down at the top of the order here whilst he's on this hard tyre. That's a little bit cool at the moment. He makes a pass on Charles Leclerc. Excellent driving from Esteban Ocon here. There's a Haas in front of him, a Joseph Newgarden that's about to pull away into the pits as well. So we'll just switch to Lando Norris here. He's putting in a pretty decent lap on his last lap before this pit stop. Hopefully it's going to be clean. It is. Everything good to go. We'll just switch back down here. We'll try recover. No, let's push and high mode just whilst we wait for these other cars to make their final pit stop. Lando Norris is the first of the cars doing 2 pit stops to come into the pits. Obviously he can go to the end of the race now. Sebastian Vettel though is there in 11th. He's managed to make a big jump up the order at the moment, running this one-stop race at the moment. He's on this fresh medium at the moment. He's in a really good position. Ocon though is running to the end of the race. We've got a Red Bull behind, or 2 Red Bulls behind us who do have to pit again. So as long as we can stay within about 20 seconds of Hulkenberg, we could be on for a podium here with Ocon making this one-stop stretch out. If we can do that, we might as well switch back to medium now. We're not really racing these Red Bulls at the moment. We're not going to waste energy, fuel. If they want to go past us, they can get past us. Meanwhile, we've used 42% of that tyre. The hard can go down to 0%. We've used about, getting through about almost 20 laps it will be after this lap. About 50%. So it looks like we're going to be just about there come the end of the race. We can, or even if we switch to conserve now, so we'll get our backup little bit of the portion done whilst we can save some tyres. We can save tyres doing this just before it drops off totally. Once it gets too cold, you don't really gain any sort of benefit from under pushing the tyres. If your driving style's below neutral, you don't see any benefit to what you're saving. Meanwhile, once we hit that, we can switch back up into neutral. So whilst it's not going to affect the tyre wear, we cannot actually save any tyre wear from this point forward. Meanwhile, we've done 53%, 47%, done over 10 laps here. Hopefully that tyre is now going to go to the end of the race. Meanwhile, we have to concentrate on Norris for a little bit. We're going to switch back to medium. We've managed to make a pass on Sergio Perez in the ART car. We're starting to get a few of the other cars now into the pits. Norris is back up into 12th place now. Still ahead of that ART of Perez, who does have to pit. But there is a lot of cars here on these medium tyres that do have to pit. And we have Charles Leclerc in our sights. So Norris has got a few places he can move back up the order here. Just have to make sure these tyres don't overheat too much. They do have to stretch to the end of the race now. Whereas Ocon is in 6th place. And if all of these guys pit, they're going to be out behind Ocon. Although obviously they're going to have fresher tyres. Once again to push up Ocon, who's on these underheated hard tyres. We cannot risk pushing them anymore. Because if we do, Ocon's just going to burn through this tyre. And this tyre is going to fade away before the end of the race. We might get a little bit of room to push it. But as it is at the moment, there's not much we can do about the tyres. Nothing. As Danny Rick is the first of the front runners to make his pit stop. He should be back out in front of Ocon. Although, no he's not. He's just behind, but he's on a fresh pair of softs here. So he should be able to get back up there. Looks like Danny Rick is the favourite into this race. He's going to get the undercut on Lewis Hamilton here. 17.5 seconds in, no, 19.3. It's going to be pretty close. I'm guessing Hamilton is into the pits this lap, or is he going to go another? Are the Mercedes going to risk another lap before coming in for a soft tyre? It looks like they are. The Mercedes staying out. Ricciardo's currently lapping quicker. So mistake, although we set the quickest last sector of the Grand Prix, although Ricciardo's is a little off pace, although that's because he's been into the pits. But Ricciardo is closing this gap up, which is not going to work out for the Mercedes here unless Lewis is going to be able to fight back, although it looks like he's getting stuck a little bit behind Esteban Ocon now, whereas Norris is up into 8th place. We've got the Mercedes of Hulkenberg, who's made his second pit stop now onto a medium tyre and not a soft for some reason. So Hulkenberg, who after a really good qualifying session, a really good start to the race, finds himself a little bit out of position here. Esteban Ocon drops to 3rd place. That is Daniel Ricciardo getting past him, and Danny Rick now has the chance. 18.5 seconds as Lewis comes into the pits. He's got a problem with his car, but he's going to get out of the pits. And it looks like this pit lane might be a little bit shorter than a 20-second pit stop. Danny Rick is coming around, and no, Danny Rick goes through, and Hamilton is 2.5, so yeah, 20 seconds for that pit stop. Meanwhile, Ocon splits the Mercedes and the Ferrari from each other, so Hamilton has to get past Esteban Ocon. That is not what he wanted. Obviously problems with his car as well. Norris is currently 8th. Bottas might not have to pit. Vettel should be able to go to the end of the race. So it looks like Norris is in this 8th place. We've got Alonso lapping pretty quick behind, whereas Ocon now is just desperately trying to hold on to his tyres. We're not going to be able to hold Hamilton off. We should be able to hold Sebastian Vettel off on that used medium. Pascal Wehrlein up there in the Renault as well. A pretty good result from him as well. One of the cars running the one-stop strategy. Norris, meanwhile, 8th place. Not where we would have wanted him to be. He was 7th before this round of pit stops. He's only sort of lost 1 place. That is pretty much, I think, Bottas and Vettel have moved up the order due to doing this one-stop strategy. But he can hang on at the moment. Meanwhile, we've got some fuel to start pushing with Esteban Ocon now to try and keep him in front of Sebastian Vettel. We might as well just get him into high mode until the end of the race. I'm not quite sure. We've got a few laps to do. This medium's a little bit overheated. We'll just cool it down and then we'll have one last run. It's a Mercedes in front. I don't think we've got enough in us to catch a Mercedes-powered car, although there is Valtteri there. But then again, he's in a Mercedes-powered McLaren this season. So it's going to be a little bit hard catching those two cars. Our engine, at least not until next season, is there. But we do have Fernando closing pretty quickly. Charles Leclerc, he's a little bit out of it though. Charles, he's about 6 seconds down on Lando Norris, although Alonso is 1.5 seconds quicker, so we might lose out to Fernando Alonso here. Although we've cooled this tyre down now, so we can get back into push. And this hard tyre looking like it could go before the end of the race. We're just holding off, so let's just see what we can do off 1 lap here. It should be about the same. So we cross the line, it is 20%. Are we going to be able to hold on to this hard tyre? 3 laps remaining. If this only goes down about 6 or so, 7% maybe, we should be able to hold on here. We're hoping to keep this around about 14% by the time this lap is through. It looks like that is going to be possible. Meanwhile, we can go overtake mode as well. It shouldn't affect the tyres. Meanwhile, we might have some room to push with Lando Norris off this last lap, although it's not going to do much apart from keep Fernando Alonso behind. But Norris is going to about to set his quickest lap of the race. Ocon's gone round, he was at 15%, and he's done part of this lap as well, so he's going to be able to make it to the end of the race. Looks like he's going to hold on to that podium. Norris, meanwhile, set his quickest lap of the race. Is he going quicker this lap as well? 31%. He's going to be able to hold on until the end of the race as well. And the tyres are a little bit too hot. He's getting right on the back of the Mercedes here, so we'll just keep things going. Maybe we can get back on the back of Nico Hulkenberg here, who is being slowed down by Valtteri Bottas. And has Norris got the pace here? We don't have much room to push in overtake mode. Our tyres are about to start dropping off. Meanwhile, we've run out of fuel with Esteban Ocon as we hit this last lap. We're far enough in front of Vettel now. We could just sort of run it in, cool down for this lap, whereas Lando is right on the back here. Should we push this tyre all out, although we're starting to fall back now a little bit? We'll go in attack mode. We might as well. We'll try it. We'll try everything we can to pick up a place here with Lando Norris. Can we get Hulkenberg? We might have some room to push the fuel. We might as well go overtake mode. Although if we run out of fuel, we're going to drop before the end. We've got Hulkenberg. Have we got Hulkenberg? Have we got the run here to the line? We managed to get the Mercedes of Hulkenberg on the last corner there. Norris finishes 7th place. Ocon though, he made that hard tyre last until the end of the race. Gets there, gets the podium. Daniel Ricciardo wins the race in the Ferrari. We get Lewis Hamilton in second in the Mercedes. What does that do for the drivers' standings? It's still Lewis, Danny Rick, then Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull. His teammate 1 point behind him, Fernando Alonso. Max Verstappen's there or thereabouts. So yeah, what a race. Actually quite enjoyed that race. Danny Rick picking up the win, so we'll just move on here. So we had Vettel in the Porsche 4th, Pascal Wehrlein up there in the Renault, Valtteri Bottas in the McLaren 6th, Lando 7th for us, Nico in the Mercedes 8th. Just faded away as that Grand Prix went on. The two-stop strategy not working out for him at all. Fernando in the Red Bull 9th, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari 10th, then Max in the Porsche outside the points, Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull outside the points, George Russell dropped away there as well as the race went on, 13th for him. And yeah, so quite a good race. I don't think anyone's going to have any risky parts in their car. Could we move up? No, we don't. We stay 3rd and 7th. No one running risky parts. That's a good 21-point haul for us. A car on the podium, doing a little bit better at the moment. Esteban Ocon now 77 points. He's almost to the point where he can get past these Red Bulls. Carlos Sainz finishing outside the points. So if that keeps happening, Esteban Ocon can move up a little bit here. But it looks like it's between Lewis and Daniel for the Drivers' Championship this season, whereas Mercedes 18 points ahead of Red Bull. They overtake there. Yes, they do, don't they? Because it was Red Bull leading before this race. Ferrari almost there as well, and we're just about there, 43 points behind. Porsche a little bit too far behind, but it is still between 4 teams at this point in the season, although it doesn't look like we're strong enough to win races in the dry at the moment. Although if we do get some wet races, we know we are really strong in the wet. We could have a decent wet race and have a good result before the end of the season. But anyway, 3rd overall, not bad. Both drivers improving, although some big improvements there, braking and cornering. Some pretty decent improvement there from Lando Norris. So hopefully we're going to be able to keep this going. We're losing about over £1 million per race at the moment. And we've already gone through the F2 races. GP3 there, it doesn't really mean anything, but Campos look like they could be moving up to Formula 2. Carmen Del Fuego is leading the Drivers' Championship at the moment. That person is just a made-up driver. I think it's a computer-generated driver that has been produced after someone retired. But anyway, we'll just go over the mail to finish this episode, and we'll go with the interview. Antonio Giovinazzi's agent has been telling reporters all over town that you're interested in signing his client up next season. And we'll just say that one because it opens him up. It will butter him up. He's pretty decent, and maybe a little bit of a spoiler, some sort of news for next season. It looks like we could be losing Esteban Ocon next season. Storyline wise, he is still a Mercedes driver. He's pretty much still on loan with us. Lando will be moving into our #1 spot if that does happen. And then we're looking for a #2 driver to partner Lando Norris next season. Maybe we could go big. Maybe we'll go young. We just have to weigh up the options before we head into next season. Maybe we might convince Esteban Ocon to stay. But anyway, that is it for this episode. Next time we have the Spa Grand Prix, pretty much the Ardennes Grand Prix in this game, the Belgium Grand Prix. That is coming up in the next episode. So like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. But until next time, I'll see you down the road, and goodbye.